Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Trevor. How you doing, mate?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to We Need to Talk About Movies podcast. And this week, we need to talk about the 1987 British comedy Withnail and I, or Withnail and I. That's how they pronounce it in the film, isn't it? Withnail. So, Nath, you've never seen this film before, have you?
No, I'd never heard of it before. And I got to be honest, I quite like Richard E. Grant in some of the roles that I've seen him in.
Yeah, it was Richard E. Grant's first film, I think, as well, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think he might have done something on TV or something, nothing groundbreaking, but, you know, it's his first film, and it right in the starring role. And from the minute he's on the screen, he's just a fantastic drunk.
And it's brilliant how he, clearly classically trained actor, ranting on with his monologues, but adding with it the substance abuse and the drunkenness and just his general appearance and everything. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, he's the greatest actor that never was, isn't he? He never had a chance because of how he was. The writer and director, Bruce Robinson, is actually based on his own experiences. He is the I character, played in the film by Paul McGann, who's called Marwood, but they never call him Marwood. But his name is Marwood in the script. And Richard E. Grant's character, Withnail, was based on a friend of his called Vivian. And they lived together in much the same sort of abode, a complete dive. It's almost a squat, isn't it?
Oh my God, it's vile. And the scene where they're contemplating tackling the dishes was just hilarious.
Oh, well, I have been in houses like that. When my friends went to university and I went and spent a week with one of my mates up there. This was their house. You couldn't wash up anything. You had to just find some sort of receptacle if you wanted a drink.
Yeah.
Like in this, he's drinking coffee out of the bowl.
That was just brilliant. Drinking coffee with a bowl and spoon.
And Richard E. Grant's like, "You've got soup. Why haven't I got soup?" That whole opening scene's just great, where it starts off with Paul McGann just having a complete breakdown, isn't he? He's having an anxiety attack listening to his record. And then he starts freaking out, and then he has to go to the cafe, have a cup of tea. He's reading about a sex change. I had to become a woman. And then he looks up at that woman and she eats that egg sandwich and it spews out. Yeah,
just the egg sandwich from start to finish when it comes out the frying pan.
It's gross.
They set the scene so quickly in the introduction with the state of the flat and where he's at, that within the first 10 minutes, the realisation of something having to change is boom, there, it's right there. It slaps you in the face, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're at the end of their tether at this point, aren't they? They've been unemployed for ages. They're not healthy.
Oh my God.
Richard E. Grant gets back home and, rub yourself in deep heat and stand against the radiators to try and warm yourself up.
There's only one way that we're going to warm ourselves up, and we need alcohol.
Yeah, and then he drinks the lighter fluid because there's no alcohol in the house.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't drink that. What else have you got? What about your antifreeze?" He goes, "Never mix your drinks." But apparently that scene, they practiced it and the lighter fluid had water in it. And then when they'd done the take, the director had swapped it out for vinegar. So he wanted a reaction when he swallowed it.
Yeah.
But then Richard E. Grant was actually sick on Paul McGann's feet at the end of the shot when he collapses on the floor.
Oh, good.
Richard E. Grant actually is teetotal. And even when he was filming this, he's allergic to alcohol and he never drinks.
Right.
But the director convinced him to have one night where they got him completely inebriated, just so he had that chemical sort of memory of it.
Yeah.
And his performance in this, I always thought Dudley Moore was one of the greatest drunks on film in Arthur. Probably Jim Leahy tops it these days out of Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah.
Richard E. Grant's there somewhere in between the two of them, I think. It's just great. Not a bad character to play to kickstart your career, is it?
No, it's very, very memorable. If you've seen it, you're always going to remember him for it.
Paul McGann, I can't think I've ever seen him in anything since.
He must have been Alien 3. He was in Alien 3.
Oh, he was in Alien 3. And so was Danny, the bloke who plays Danny as well, is in Alien 3.
Right.
Yeah, they're both in that. But Danny, the drug dealer as well, is a great character, isn't he?
It's brilliant. The way he speaks. Now, why do I recognise that?
You recognise that character?
Yeah.
Used him in something else, the same actor playing the same character. See if you can think about it. Ozzy Osbourne made me sort out every coloured M&M.
Oh, is it Wayne's World?
Yeah, Wayne's World
Yes!
2, yeah. Doesn't he play Dell or
Yes,
something?
that's exactly where I remember it from. Oh, mate, he was brilliant. The way he just rocks up and they're sort of desperately trying to get rid of him, and the way he's building up about his arsenal of drugs, and then he's talking about his mate who's a professional toy designer, and they're designing these dolls that are going to shit themselves. And then he pulls that doll's head off and he pulls that pill out, and he's just almost like you're going to be really impressed, but it's got a value of £2. I guess in 1967, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, 1969.
1969, sorry.
It's the end of the 60s. Basically the heart of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
The 60s are over. All the fun times are coming to an end and they are slumming it. They're like a married couple in this, aren't they?
Yeah.
Coming to the end of their days.
And you think,
basically.
Paul McGann, you get the impression that he's struggling for something more, isn't he? For a way out. And you just don't see that in Richard E. Grant's character at all, do you? In Withnail.
No, Withnail is too busy getting pissed to like really want to move, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he's the one who's sort of in control. And that's what Paul McGann's got to get out of that control, hasn't he? Because Richard E. Grant's character, he's selfish, he's manipulative,
Yeah.
he's a coward.
And he just tries to front his way through life and situations, doesn't he? Act his way through, doesn't he?
They're in that pub and Marwood walks past that chap, that Irishman.
Yeah.
Ponce or something he says, doesn't he?
Yes.
And then I think it pans out that he's been in the toilet for hours because he's in there and he's like, oh my God, that bloke's going to beat me up and what have I done to offend him? And then he reads on the wall, I fuck arses. And he's like, what if he fucks arses? Really paranoid.
Proper sketching
And then
out.
as soon as he comes over to Richard E. Grant, and what is it Richard E. Grant says? Something like,
I have a condition. I have a heart condition. If you hit me, I'll die, and that'll be on your hands.
trying everything, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hamming it up.
Yeah, that's it.
And then he just sends Marwood to the... Look, it's obvious you want to take this out with my friend. Why don't you and him go out and... He pushes him to the wolves all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's a real shit.
Throw him under the bus.
And no worse than with Uncle Monty.
Oh.
Just like the whole setup of that was... He gets the key to the holiday cottage up in the lakes, and as he's got it, he waves it. He says, free to those who can afford it, very expensive to those who can't.
Yeah, that line.
So basically, yeah, by the time you get to the end of the film, you realise that it's free to him.
Yeah.
And he's actually selling Marwood to his uncle. He's like made out that he's
A toilet. What was it? What was
toilet trader.
What was it? A toilet trader.
Toilet trader.
Oh my God. Because, you get super strong hints all the way through that you'd have to be a blind man to miss about his uncle's persuasion.
Yeah.
Which, isn't a problem. When he turns up, you first think that he's decided to do it all on his own accord. And then...
Yeah, he just turned up.
Yeah, it slowly unfolds that he's been led up the garden path, so to speak.
The director, Bruce Robinson, he was in Franco Zeffirelli's, I think it was Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
But the director, Bruce, was a young guy. And the Uncle Monty advances is taken straight from the advances of Franco Zeffirelli. And the director said that he used to be petrified when they was all on set in Italy.
Yeah.
And he would just go in his hotel room and just lock himself in there and just like, oh my God. And then one night he kicked the door in and turns up sat at the end of his bed in makeup, blusher and rouge.
Oh.
And he says, every line that I've put in here is straight from Franco Zeffirelli's mouth because I wanted him to know when he watched that film.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. The cat's out the bag. Yeah, not very nice. Pretty intimidating.
It is really unpleasant. He sort of twists and turns and wriggles and eventually works his way out of it by playing at the sympathies of Monty. And he does finally get away with it. But, that's the trigger in the plot that's needed to drive him to make that final decision of, right, okay, I need to get out of this toxic relationship. Because it is a toxic relationship. Like you say, they are like an old married couple, aren't they?
And I mean, the film, a lot of people back in the day even were concerned that it's homophobic. But the director could, he says, I'm not homophobic. This is experience. And, when he retells these stories now, he says he laughs about it. And then to be in a situation where he was preyed upon by a really powerful film director, he says all he can do is look back and laugh because, he got through it. It's a very British sensibility, isn't it, to find comedy in the darkest places.
Yeah. And that's why I think the storyline works so well, is because it is told from such a true life perspective. And I think that's what gave it that sort of edge, I think, as a film, because, you know, you could easily set out to make this film and miss the mark, couldn't you?
Oh, you could, yeah. The director was very adamant that he didn't want it played as a comedy.
Right.
And if anyone was to laugh on set, he'd make the actors do it again. He's like, we're not going for the laughs. I want this to be realistic. I want the situation to be funny. I want it to be what they're putting themselves through, which is funny. And if they got the characters right, then the scenes and the comedy would work within the film. To the producers, they were panicking a bit when they was bringing back the dailies, and they're like, none of this is funny. On sort of day one, the director almost walked off set because the bloke was going, right, we need it more funny. Monty needs to be more like Kenneth Williams. I've produced comedies in the past. This is how comedy should be. But the director was like, right, this is my vision, and I know what's going to make, you know, it is going to be funny. And it did, you know, it's proven all these years on. It's one of those cult classics that so many people still love and quote today, you know?
Yeah.
Like where they go to the farm and they get there and it's a complete shithole. First of all, they've driven all the way up there in the rain.
The car in general was just perfect choice for them. It's the fact that it's a Jaguar, and it doesn't matter that it's a Jaguar. It's a pile of shit. And it's just fucking falling apart, missing headlights, just rotten.
I love it as well, the setup. When Danny turns up and he's got that fairy liquid bottle, and you say, oh, you could have that or something, and you think, what the fuck's that? And then a bit later on, Richard E. Grant's talking through like, oh, there's instructions with this. We've basically filled this bottle with child's piss. When you get pulled over by the police, you refuse everything except for a urine test. And then you use this bottle and get away scot-free. And then later on, when he's drunk and they get pulled over, and he's like, blow into this. No, I don't have to. My cousin's a QC or something. And then the policeman goes, get in the back of the van!
Such a weird scream, wasn't it?
But then when he's in the police station, the camera pans around them all, doesn't it? And it's like, what's this Joker doing? And they open up the screen, and Richard E. Grant's there like with this tube, and the bloke pulls him over and there's fucking piss going everywhere out this tube. It's just completely failed, didn't work at all.
And McGann's character, you know, you are willing him to sort of find a way out of this madness, because, you know, you get the feeling that he is getting some sort of mental health issue as a result of it, don't you?
My thumbs have gone weird. My heart's beating like a fucked clock.
And Danny's back there, and he's giving him that fucking joint, and they all start spinning out. It's just
Is
fucking
it the
brilliant.
Camberwick carrot or something?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, it takes at least 12 papers, and you see him sort of making
It's
it.
impossible to make a joint with that many Rizzlers. It's impossible to make the Camberwick carrot with any less than 12 Rizzlers.
I got to be honest, his lines are the best. I think after watching it, Danny is the best character in the whole film for me.
Yeah, there is some great lines. And actually, Danny, in his strange way, he has all like the sort of the most important lines of the film that sort of summarise everything, where he says about like, London is a country coming down from its trip. They're even selling hippie wigs in Woolworths. The 60s is done, and he sort of points that out, doesn't he, you know?
What he says about the hot air balloon, about, you know, you're holding on to a rope and you've got to make a decision whether to let go and fall to the ground or to keep getting high. But the question is, how long can you hold on for?
And it's like the same when Marwood, when they're smoking that joint, and he starts freaking out, and he's like, just sit down, chill out, find a calm space. You need to find a calm space. And he's like, I need some downers or something. You can't remember what he asked for. And he's like,
yeah, he asked for Valium.
that's
didn't
right,
he?
I need some Valium. He goes, no, why do you trust one drug and not another? Richard E. Grant, I could match any drugs that you take. And that's the first time that Daddy takes off his glasses and you just see his eyes are fucking black and beady. He's like, choose your words very carefully or something, isn't he? He's like, if I medicined you, you'd think a brain tumour was a birthday present.
Although it's all sort of not filmed in a slapstick sort of way, they are real characters going through a real situation. It is comedy, and there are scenes and experiences in there that a lot of people can relate to.
When we was younger, we went through sort of the rave phase as films like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas came out.
Yeah.
And I remember my friends just thought that they were
Oh, Hunter
Hunter
Thompson.
S. Thompson.
Yeah.
And I think watching this is like the English alternative to
Fear
and
in Las
Loathing.
Vegas.
Yeah, and even the font on the front cover of the DVD is identical to the font of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the novel and the film. Whether that's just something that happened later on, I don't know.
Yeah, now you say that, yeah, I could definitely see it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, in Fear and Loathing, you got Dr. Gonzo, who's just a complete animal, but they're both as bad as each other, you know. Whereas this, you know, Marwood is torn and tormented with it, enjoying it, but at the same time, it's like, how long is this going to go on?
What's the end game?
Yeah, enough is enough. Withnell completely just uses everyone to get drunk. He uses, as we've said, Paul McGann to get Uncle Monty there. But once Uncle Monty's there, Paul McGann wants to go because he sort of sees what's going on, and he's got this fake grin the whole time. And he says, "My gum is aching. I've forced a smile the whole time I've been here." But Withnell is quite happy to just sit there, take all the food, take all the drink. And I mean, the cottage feels like a different place once Uncle Monty turns up, because at the point that he turns up, they think he's the poacher, don't they? Michael Elphick. And that whole scene is hilarious, where Paul McGann, he's not that bothered. He's like, "I'm going to bed." And Richard E. Grant is shitting himself. He's like, "The poacher's going to come and kill us. I'm sleeping with you tonight."
He's running around with that double-barrel shotgun, isn't he? Yeah. And then when you see Richard E. Grant barefoot in that river trying to shoot fish, it's just...
with his coat all trussed up, trying not to get it wet.
Oh, it's just genius. It's hilarious.
But that chicken, like the scene where they run out to the farmer. None of them bought wellies, so they got fertiliser sacks on their feet. They go up to the farmer, and Richard E. Grant says, "Are you the farmer? We're here on holiday by mistake." And then they ask for food, and then the farmer comes down. He goes, "I bought you a chicken." And then the next shot is them in the kitchen looking at this live chicken on the counter. Paul McGann's like, I can't kill it. And Richard E. Grant's like, "I could, I'm famished." But apparently, yeah, the chicken that you see later on, the corpse chicken that they sit on the brick in the oven, is the same chicken in the same day. They filmed the shots with the chicken in a day, and then that was down to the prop guy to sort of kill it and half pluck it.
People do it every day.
It's the difference between country folk and city folk, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they fuck everything up when they get there, don't they? You know, they can't do anything.
Oh, they're just smashing up all the furniture just to keep the fire going. Brilliant. And like when Monty turns up, like, I mean, there must be holes in the ceiling from discharging a shotgun inside. There's no furniture in the fucking kitchen because they burnt it all. And he doesn't bat an eyelid at it, does he?
No. He gives them money to get the boots.
No.
And he drives them into town, but he's like horrified. He's completely ashamed to be seen with them because they look like tramps. You didn't even shave this morning. You know, horrible. Because when they first go to see him, they clean themselves up, don't they? They've both had a bath and they've shaved and they're wearing a suit.
Yeah.
And basically, Uncle Monty's given them the money to go and buy the boots. And they're like, "Fuck it, let's go and drink." And they go to that bar, quadruple whiskies.
And so they just decide to go and get absolutely shit-faced. And that scene in the cake store was just fucking hilarious.
But at this point, even Marwood's like, "We're going to buy this place. We're millionaires," and all this. And then Monty turns up and they hop in the car. But Monty's like cross with them. But I think he still thinks he's on for a lay.
Yeah, he's hunting Richard, isn't he?
Doesn't he say, "I'm preparing myself to forgive you," he says, doesn't he? He goes, "I'm releasing you from the vegetables to transfer you to the meat."
Yeah, all right, mate.
It's really uncomfortable, isn't it? But at the end, even Uncle Monty's character, even though he's like a bit of a predator, goes, "If you won't let me have it, then it will be burglary." It's horrible, isn't it? It's not even funny.
It is horrible. But the thing is you kind of feel sorry for him in a way because Withnell's led him up to this.
Yeah, exactly. And even Marwood feels sorry for him when he reads the letter.
Yeah.
Oh, poor bloke. You know, he's heartbroken for him, isn't he? Because he's heartbroken.
Yeah.
You know, and they've lied to him. He wasn't privy to that betrayal until he needed to, for necessity, to get himself out of it. But that Richard E. Grant's character just absolutely no morals.
No, that's it. He just does whatever he has to get what he wants, time and time again through the film, and then it just builds up to this one big betrayal for a weekend of way of fine dining, fine wine at someone else's expense.
Yeah.
You know, in more ways than one. But it's brilliant because it is the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and then he gets that telegram arrives and he's called back. They want to see him again for some part. And Richard E. Grant's face just says it all, doesn't he, when he reads it? And like, oh, well done. But you can see he's like, fuck, I'm getting left behind again.
Yeah, but through no fault of anyone's but his own.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He's not helped himself, has he? The original ending in the screenplay had Withnail sees his mate off, and it wasn't him giving that performance at the Wolves.
Yeah.
But the original scene was he fills up the double barrel shotgun with wine,
Right.
and then he drinks them back and then blows his head off. But it wasn't the true ending, even though the character he's based on did die.
Right.
But he died of throat cancer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a true ending to the story. It was like a fantastic, great way to end it. But they didn't need that ending. And I don't think it did need that ending.
No, it ended perfectly.
One's moving on and one just isn't.
I think the hardest thing, though, is that realization, and it's not always the case, but a lot of the time, there are certain infectious people that constantly want to drag you back.
Yeah.
Where they're going, and you have to come to that conclusion in your own time and that realization. And it's often separation from those types of people that is the catalyst for getting you where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, what this film is about, isn't it?
Yeah.